This is Made for Impact, a show about people wanting to leave a lasting mark on their organizations, their teams, and their lives. People feeling called to leadership, feeling called to something more. I'm your host, Gretchen Schott. Think of me as your leadership professor. Class is in session, and today I want to talk about prioritizing your growth and development. Today is an exciting day for me. My family just came off of celebrating my son, who just signed on to play football for Anderson University. A huge milestone, a huge excitement for our family. But a few weeks back, I talked about my one word practice. For the last several years, I've been engaging in a practice of selecting one word to be my theme for my life for that year. Go back if you are a follower of the show and listen to episode 11, where I interviewed John Gordon, co-author of the book, One Word That Will Change Your Life. He talks about this. I actually did this practice for years before I realized that John wrote this book, but I have a great episode with him, so go check it out. And he talks about this practice and positivity and the joy of doing this. When I select one word for my life theme, I pray about it, much like I do with attaining of my goals and setting intention for the year, much like I do many things in my life. I pray about it. And then I pay attention to how it is that I want to grow that year. I consider words that are meaningful to me, and I consider where I need to focus my personal attention in that coming year. And once I select a word, I then find a scripture that either embodies the theme of that word or a scripture that helps embody how I want to see myself by the end of that year. I've also done things like I develop a playlist of songs to help get me in the mindset of that word. I create a Pinterest board, kind of a life theme, and I save images and articles and thoughts around that word. I post the word in a meaningful place, so I'm reminded of it, so I know what I'm focusing on, my growth for that year. And when I set my goals for the year, I use that word to help me craft reasonable and attainable goals. And the best part about this practice is sharing it with friends and family. I love learning what other people are focusing on and knowing their word, paying attention to that, and then sending them encouragement and ideas or songs or things that made me think about them. Learning what their word is always a fascinating process. I think understanding why someone chose that, what it means to them, why they want that to be their guide. I absolutely love it. In the last few episodes of the show, I've been focusing conversations around goal setting and prioritization. So this time of year, I feel like everyone's hyper focused on setting goals, prioritizing work and life. And I personally find this to be a very healthy practice. And I have sought out several guests recently to talk about that. The amazing Kate Volman was on the show, and she shared her thoughts around mindset and overcoming those myths about stopping your dreams or living them out. I loved what she shared about writing yourself a permission slip and not waiting for inspiration to start, but to just do that next right thing to help overcome that fear and those myths that you have playing out in your head around setting goals. And then I had Karen Mengia on sharing her insights on her health, how that impacted her success. And I loved what she said about poisonous beliefs in your own mind and how she had to let those go, letting go of words like never and letting go of words like should, recognizing the word should was outside of alignment for her values and applying her 5-minute mindset fix. When I think about setting goals and prioritizing for the year, I need to be in a place and a space to actually do this well, right? And so if you're listening to this and you haven't actually sat down and really thought about who am I? What do I want to do this year? You need to clear some space. I call that sacred space, right? So look at your phone, get on your calendar. If you're driving, don't do that. But when you get to a place where you're not driving, sit down and actually block out some time to be still and reflective. And think about what it looks like for you to be your best self. Think about how it feels for you to be your best self. Think about what you would want people to say about you as a leader when you are acting as your best self. And I think sometimes when we think about goals, we can get overwhelmed. We can think about all these things that we want to do, all these things we want to achieve, all these things we want to be. And by the end of that time thinking, we have about 50 things that we would like to do, right? Maybe even 10. I believe when you're setting goals, they need to be reasonable, they need to be attainable, and less is more, right? So if you're starting out the year and you've got like 10 things you want to accomplish, that's super great. And perhaps you're overstretching and overachieving. Maybe you're just talking about 10 because you feel like 10's a lot. What would it look like if you just had like 3 things that were enough for you to demonstrate you're being your best self? Because the beautiful thing about goals is that if you do those 3 things and you achieve them, you can always set more. But sometimes the beginning of the year, we get overexcited, new year, fresh start, all the things. We're going to hyperextend. We got 12 months in the year. I'm going to have 12 goals. No, less is more. What are some things that you can do to be your best self, to live your best life, to grow and become the leader that you envision yourself to be? Just a couple things. Work on those, set milestones, work to achieve that. And when you're done, look back and decide what could you do next. But don't feel that pressure of having to come up with 100 things to do to make yourself a better person, a better leader. I also find it personally helpful to have some conversations with folks like, what are you working on? Because that for me sometimes is inspiring. That for me can allow me to look at different aspects of my life like, wow, like you're taking your health super seriously. What? Maybe I should be looking at my health or my finances or my relationships or my spirituality or the work, all of those different dimensions of our life. That doesn't mean you have to have a goal for every dimension of your life, but where is somewhere in your life that you would feel could be enhanced by a little bit more attention, by setting some ideas and intentions around growing in that. That's what I do. That's what I advise my kids to do. That's what I advise my husband to do. And that's what I'd invite you to do. And as always, if you want to share those with me and get ideas and kind of bounce ideas off each other, I am so down and open for that. And so this leads me back to this idea of selecting one word to be your life theme for the year. What myths are you telling yourself right now about the dreams that you have that you need to let go of? What words are you using that you need to abandon and embrace new ones? Selecting a one word for your life theme this year. My word for this year is wisdom. And I chose this word because last year was a hard year, as I mentioned on an earlier show. And going into this year, I wanted to put into practice the knowledge, experience, and good judgment that I've gained. I'm in a transition in my life where I've had many opportunities to stretch and to grow, and I want to now rest in that and use strong discernment to guide me as I work on being my best self. I'll be sharing more about my journey with wisdom throughout this year. So, what's your word? What are some of your goals? I would love to hear them. Last year, I had a lot of friends share with me their word, and then I made them a little gift to keep their word front and center. So, if you have a word for this year, send me a message and let me know what it is and why you chose that word, and I will send you a free gift. And who doesn't want a gift from their favorite professor? That way, we can support each other and encourage each other throughout the year. I hope that was helpful. I hope that you are inspired to create your own one word. And I know that it feels like really at this time of year, like I'm going to pick a word and I'm not going to remember it. I'm going to help you with that. Just do it. Pick a word. Figure out a way you're going to be focused this year. Set goals. Prioritize your leadership. Super important because leadership is not management and growth is not promotion. It is through this practice of identifying a theme for our life that we develop in our leadership and we personally grow. So, if you enjoyed this episode and this lesson, please follow and share it with others. If you haven't subscribed to my newsletter yet, be sure to check that out too. go to www.growthreefold.com/made-for-impact. Remember, in the meantime, that you are made for impact.